The night was quiet in Maplewood, a small suburban town where the air smelled faintly of pine and wood smoke. Streetlights hummed over empty sidewalks, and a gentle autumn breeze pushed fallen leaves across the cul-de-sac at the end of Birchwood Lane. Inside the cozy white house at number 219, the Carter family slept soundly. David Carter lay beside his wife, Emily, who had just kissed their daughter good night a few hours earlier. Their 7-year-old Lily dreamed of her first school play while curled beneath her pink blanket. At the foot of her bed, a golden retriever puppy named Max snored softly, his paws twitching as if he were chasing something through dreamland. At 2:13 a.m., a faint electrical hum broke the silence. Behind the refrigerator in the kitchen, a frayed wire sparked once, then again. It caught the corner of a curtain, a quiet flicker that began to crawl upward, licking at the fabric, then the cabinets, then the walls. Within minutes, smoke began to creep through the hallway like a ghost searching for breath. The first alarm went off, a shrill, desperate cry that shattered the calm. Emily bolted upright, her heart instantly racing. For a split second, she thought it was part of her dream. Then she smelled it, the acrid tang of burning plastic. "David," she shouted, shaking her husband. "Fire!" David leapt out of bed, already sprinting toward the hallway. The smoke thickened by the second, rolling down the stairs in gray waves. He could hear the faint crackle of flames somewhere below, the sinister whisper of destruction. Emily ran to Lily's room. "Mommy," Lily murmured, rubbing her eyes, frightened by the alarm. "It's okay, baby," Emily said, her voice trembling but firm. "We have to get outside." She scooped Lily up and wrapped a blanket around her as the heat began to rise. They tried to descend the stairs, but fire already danced along the railings, orange and alive. "David," she coughed, trying to see through the haze. "I'm here," he shouted from below. "Window in the back. Go out through Lily's room." He smashed the back window with a chair and climbed onto the patio roof. Emily followed, clutching Lily close, their faces blackened with soot. They crawled along the slanted tiles until they could drop safely to the grass below. Emily held Lily tight as she coughed and cried. Then Emily froze, her eyes widened. "David," she gasped, "where's Max?" David turned toward the house, now glowing from the inside like a furnace. He was in Lily's room, wasn't he? He must have run downstairs when the alarm went off. Without thinking, David took a step forward, but a blast of heat drove him back. The windows exploded outward, showering glass across the lawn. He shielded his face, helpless. "Emily, I can't get in there." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "He's just a baby. He won't know where to go." Across town at Fire Station 47, the shriek of the alarm broke through the stillness of the night. Firefighter Ethan Morales was dreaming of the ocean when the dispatcher's voice blared through the loudspeaker. "Station 47, structure fire reported at 219 Birchwood Lane. Possible occupants inside." Ethan rolled out of his bunk in one practiced motion, pulling on his turnout gear as the rest of the crew rushed to the trucks. Captain Rene Porter was already at the command board, eyes sharp, voice steady. "Residential fire, reports of a family outside. They think a child or animal may still be in the house." "Got it," Ethan said, snapping his helmet in place. Within 30 seconds, the station's main engine roared to life, its lights cutting through the fog like red blades. They tore through the empty streets, sirens howling. In the cab, no one spoke. Ethan focused on his breathing, counting the rhythm he'd practiced for years, calm in chaos. When they arrived, the scene was chaos incarnate. The Carters' house was engulfed, flames bursting through the windows and roof. Emily stood in the front yard clutching Lily, sobbing uncontrollably. David paced, shouting hoarsely toward the inferno. "Sir, stay back," Captain Porter ordered as her crew jumped out. "Is anyone still inside?" "Our puppy," Emily cried. "He's just a few months old. He's in there somewhere." Porter turned to Ethan and Jenkins, another firefighter beside him. "You two, primary search first floor. We'll hit it with foam from the south side." Ethan nodded. He pulled down his face mask, feeling the rush of cool air from his oxygen tank. The moment he crossed the threshold, the world turned into smoke and flame. The air was thick, suffocating, alive with the sound of burning wood. The roar of the fire wasn't just noise. It was like a living creature, breathing, growling, devouring. Visibility low, Jenkins said through his mask, sweeping his flashlight. Heading for the kitchen, Ethan replied. That's probably where it started. They moved low, crawling beneath the smoke, using the hose line as a guide. Every instinct screamed at Ethan to get out. The heat was unbearable, but he pressed forward. Then, faintly, through the crackling and the chaos, came a small sound, a whimper. He froze. You hear that? Jenkins turned his head. Where? There by the table. Ethan crawled forward, feeling along the floor until his gloved hand brushed soft fur. A tiny, trembling shape lay beneath the table. Max, curled up, whimpering weakly. His eyes were half closed, and each breath came shallow and fast. Hey, little guy, Ethan murmured, his voice muffled by the mask. It's okay, I've got you. He lifted the puppy gently and tucked him into his fireproof jacket. Unit 47. He radioed, one live rescue animal, exiting now. The roof above them groaned ominously. Let's go, Jenkins shouted. They turned back toward the door, moving fast, heat pressing down like a weight. Then came a sudden crack, and the ceiling collapsed behind them, sending a shower of embers and debris across the floor. Ethan felt himself thrown forward, hitting the wall hard. Ethan, Jenkins yelled, grabbing his arm. I'm good. Just go. Ethan coughed, clutching the small bundle inside his jacket tighter. He ran, every muscle screaming, every step a battle against the collapsing structure. When he burst out the front door, the cold night air hit him like a blessing. He fell to his knees on the grass, gasping. Paramedics ran toward him. What have you got? One asked. Ethan opened his jacket. Inside, Max whimpered softly, eyes blinking open. His fur was singed, his breathing shallow, but he was alive. Emily screamed and ran forward. Max, Ethan looked up as she dropped beside him, tears streaming down her face. She reached out with trembling hands, lifting the puppy against her chest. Max licked her soot, streaked cheek weakly. Oh, baby, she whispered, sobbing, you're okay, you're okay. Even Captain Porter, who'd seen countless fires and rescues, looked away for a moment to compose herself. Good work, Morales, she said quietly. Just doing my job, Ethan replied, but his voice cracked slightly. The paramedics checked Max's breathing and administered oxygen through a small mask. He's dehydrated but stable, one said. He's a lucky pup. Ethan smiled faintly. Yeah, lucky. As dawn crept over Maplewood, the house smoldered in silence. Firefighters hosed down the last embers while the Carters watched, wrapped in blankets. They'd lost everything except what truly mattered each other. News crews arrived, filming the scene. A reporter asked Emily how she felt. She wiped her eyes and said simply, grateful. They saved our family. Ethan didn't stay long. After giving his report, he returned to the truck, exhausted. But before he climbed aboard, he looked back at the Carters, at the little girl cuddling her puppy, and smiled. Some rescue stayed with you forever. That night, at the firehouse, the world was quiet again. The gear was cleaned, the hoses rolled up, the truck refueled. Ethan sat alone at his locker, staring at a photo one of the crew had taken. Him kneeling on the grass, jacket open, Max nestled inside. He couldn't stop replaying the moment when he'd heard that tiny whimper through the flames. The sound had cut through everything. Fear, noise, exhaustion. A call for help that he'd answered without hesitation. Days passed, then weeks. Max was taken to the Maplewood Animal Clinic, where he recovered slowly under the care of Dr. Patel, the town's veterinarian. Emily visited daily, sometimes with Lily in tow. Lily would sit beside Max's crate and read to him softly, her small voice soothing and gentle. Once upon a time, she'd whisper, there was a brave puppy who got saved by heroes who ran through fire. Max would wag his tail weakly, resting his head on her lap. When he was finally healthy enough to go home, the whole town seemed to celebrate. Neighbors donated clothes, furniture, and money to help the Carters rebuild. The fire department dropped by often, checking in, bringing toys for Lily and treats for Max. 2 months later, the Maplewood Fire Department held a community ceremony to honor the crew of Station 47. The event took place in the town square, under banners that read, "Thank you to our heroes." The Carters attended with Max, now wearing a small red vest embroidered with Survivor Pup. When Captain Porter called Ethan's name, the crowd erupted in applause. "Courage," she said from the podium, "doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's a firefighter who refuses to leave until every life is accounted for. And sometimes—" She smiled, looking down at Max. "It's a small heartbeat that keeps going even when the world around it burns." Ethan knelt down beside Max, who wagged his tail and licked his glove. Cameras flashed, children cheered, and for a moment the entire town felt united by that single act of compassion. After the ceremony, Ethan walked over to Emily and Lily. "How's our little hero doing?" he asked. "Back to chasing squirrels and stealing socks." Emily laughed. "Just the way we like him." Lily hugged Ethan around the waist. "Thank you for saving my puppy." He smiled, his throat tight. "He's a brave one. He saved me too, in a way." Time passed, and the Carters rebuilt their home on the same spot. They chose safer materials, new wiring, and fireproof walls. Ethan even volunteered one weekend to help pour the foundation. Lily brought lemonade for the crew, while Max trotted around with a stick in his mouth, tail wagging nonstop. As the sun dipped low, Emily looked around the half-built house and whispered to David, "We lost everything that night, but we gained something more. Gratitude," he said quietly, taking her hand. Years later, Ethan stood in front of a new class of recruits at the fire academy. His hair had a touch of gray now, but his voice carried the same quiet strength. "Every call is different," he told them. "Some nights you save lives, other nights you save hope. You won't remember every fire, but you'll remember the ones that remind you why you do this." He reached for a framed photo on his desk, a young firefighter holding a tiny soot-covered puppy in his arms. "This one," he said softly, "reminded me." The recruits listened silently, the weight of his words sinking in. Outside, the sun sank behind the horizon, painting the sky orange and gold. Somewhere across town, an older golden retriever lifted his head, watching that same sunset from the porch of a rebuilt home. His fur gleamed in the fading light, and beside him Lily, now older, sat with her arm around him. The fire had taken their home, but it had also given them a story of courage, compassion, and second chances. And as the last light of day faded, Max's tail wagged slowly, content. The night would come again, calm and quiet, but in Maplewood there would always be someone awake, someone ready to answer the call, no matter who needed saving.